Someone had reached out to me from a local club regarding sharing my journey of writing my book, Ham Radio DX: A Complete Guide. This resulted in a club presentation covering everything from an idea 10 years ago to reality. Are you curious why I wrote this book? Are you intrigued by the publishing process? Do you want to know what's involved in marketing and distributing a book, specifically a ham radio book? Then this video is for you. Let's get started. Welcome and thanks for tuning in to Maximum RF. My name is Lucas Ford, ham radio call sign W6AER. Today I will cover what it took to go from an idea for a book 10 plus years ago to something tangible. So what the heck was I thinking? Was I even thinking? I will also go over the many reasons why I wrote this book. Stick around until the end to find out what I'm currently working on and when to expect it. So why did I tackle a writing project this complex? It's rather simple. I decided to write what I wanted to read when I got started in DXing. I really struggled to find good and relevant reading materials when I was getting serious about DXing, and this was about 10 years ago. Much of the books and even internet articles were outdated, and I was not the intended audience in some cases. There's a lot of inaccurate information out there as well, unfortunately. I found out the hard way, and at times, frankly, it even cost me some money. Additionally, many think that their way is the right and only way. There is no one right way. There are many wrong ways though. As they say, there is more than one way to skin a cat. My way is just one way, which worked for me, and that's what I documented in my book. To be honest, I did not know it was going to be this complex. Was I even thinking? Well, it's complicated. Yes and no is the honest answer. Contents and size ballooned out of control. The book was never intended to be this large, but more on this later. The book took about 2 years on and off as time allowed for me to write it, and it mostly didn't. I'm pretty busy with my day job and other things I need to deal with in life. I set aside small blocks of time as I was in the mood. Never forced myself to write, because that never ends well, as we all know. Believe it or not, the book was rewritten twice and reorganized twice, in part due to flow and in part due to potential printing costs due to its massive size. The perfectionist in me took charge and I listened to my beta readers, so yet even more adjustments came. As I was working on my book, when ideas came to me, I made notes on my phone. Of course, this happens a lot in the shower, as we all know, which makes it rather complicated. Some have asked me how I came up with the title and why is it so darn long. Ironically, the short answer is not alone and could not narrow it down. It started with a list of ideas, which then expanded into many, many more. This all happened over 2 years. I also got some suggestions from other hams, which I also liked. I want it to be original, memorable, but also easy to understand what the book is about. And this is much, much harder than it sounds, believe me. The title changed several times over the 2 years of writing, by the way. So what did I cover in this book? The goal was a complete A through Z guide, and I think I came pretty close. The general idea was that someone who just got licensed should be able to pick up this book and start to DX, assuming at least that their license level permits to do so. Making complex ideas sound simple took some effort. I started with antennas and balance, hardware and software, setting up a station and grounding it, and how to QSL and design a QSL card. I also made sure to cover all modes, HF bands, and operating. However, someone who's already a DXer should be able to get value from this book as well, so I expanded this quite a bit. Turns out these were the most fun sections to write. It's also where I learned a little bit more. And these sections include RFI, EMI, pile-up techniques, which is always fascinating, FT8 and FT4 modes, RIDI, other digital modes which may not be as used anymore, awards, and of course everyone's favorite, propagation. Perhaps the most important section, and I hope all will read this, is how not to be a lid. A lid, by the way, is ham radio slang for a bad operator. You don't want to be one of those. What I did not cover in this book, products I did not like or recommend. I decided to keep that to myself. I never called out any products by name, but oh my god, was it tempting. You can kind of figure this out without me saying anything though. I try to stay positive, but there's a lot of junk out there. As they say, caveat emptor, or buyer beware in English. However, If I did not mention a company, that does not automatically mean that they're bad. Basically, I tried to keep a positive tone in the book. And to be honest, I failed miserably at first. Thanks to my beta readers, I rewarded a few things, mainly in my lit section. I guess I was being a little too honest. The lit section went from nearly 4 pages to just about a quarter of that, for example, and I removed much of my soapboxes. Because of this, the final book has a more positive flow and mood. The last thing I wanted is to scare away new hams, but there are things to be aware of. A lot of the book was based on common questions people have. Let me explain. I was an Elmer for many years in a local club, and the same questions came up regularly. My ham radio blog at w6aer.com gets very good traffic and a dozen or so questions every week. I also get many repeats, kind of like the movie Groundhog Day. Additionally, I also follow email discussions such as the NCDXC and the NCCC. I get to learn a lot about what people are curious about and what they need help with. There seems to be a cycle of some of these same questions coming up every few years or so. I also keep my eye on Ham Radio's Slack channels, Deja Vu. Same types of topics, different groups of folks, and therefore, as you can see, a pattern emerges. I regularly check out FT8, WSJTX, and other online user groups. I even follow Facebook ham radio related groups. You get the picture. This made it easy to decide what to cover. An interesting side observation I have made while following the groups: many people do not read or follow instructions even when they're given clear ones by other hams. Well, these guys are clearly not my target audience, especially the non-reading ones. It is a book after all. What was the goal and how did I get there? Figuring out the audience was easy, as I said. It could also have been me 10 years ago. In fact, I wish I had this book 10 years ago. Also, folks who may not be technical but need a place to get started with DXing, using plain English and simple steps. All this while still appealing to experienced DXers. Turns out it was quite a tall order. I learned a lot myself writing this book. Fact-checking and doing more in-depth research and even doing a couple of experiments, which ended up in the book. I was trying to present value, information, and I also had to balance the cost and quality. But there is more to writing a book than just what is between the covers. Things a book needs or should have, besides good content of course, are the following, and I will go over these in more detail shortly. I needed an eye-catching cover and back cover. Book design turned out to be one of the most pleasurable parts. The layout, photo editing, and cover design. I actually really enjoyed that. Depending on your skill level, in some cases this can be done rather easily. Cover is what sells the book in many cases. The back is also important, and many seem to forget about that. People shop with their eyes. The ISBN 13 number and the barcode are a mystery to many. This is the barcode and the number found on all books in the lower back on the right side. If you want to sell your book, you will need one. You also need proper copyright for the book. Not just stating that it is, but actually do it. I will tell you how to do so. Having a Library of Congress number, or LCCN for short, opens up many doors. This is needed for libraries and for broader distribution, though it is optional, so it's really up to you. So how did I go about these? Well, let's get started with the cover. I used a combination of Adobe Photoshop for raster images, Adobe Illustrator for vector images, but that's completely optional, and Canva, the paid version, for the layout. There are many royalty-free image libraries out there on the internet. There are also paid options, but I ended up not using these. NASA has a great royalty-free image library. The image on the cover of the book is from them. The free trial period of Canva is actually enough for most to get their covers designed, though I highly recommend having a subscription. I maintain a paid subscription with them to this day for other projects, including my YouTube ones. Amazon provides you with a publishing template for the cover layout once you know the exact page number and decided on the publishing dimensions. Save the cover file in CYMK format for publishing or printing, not RGB as you would normally do so for photos and such. CYMK is used for professional printing. It stands for cyan, yellow, magenta, and the K stands for black. Don't ask why. Maybe it's so people don't confuse it with blue. Work in very high resolution. You do not want pixelation. This will look horrible. Vector images scale better, so use those if you know how to do so. Here's the publishing template example that I downloaded from Amazon. This is pretty much what I used. You have to specify the size, the number of pages, and it will generate this for you automatically, as in this example. This actual example is very similar to what I had used. And here's the actual finished layout I ended up with. In this example, this is the hardcover version. The softcover is slightly different, as it does not need as much black space around it in my case, and it doesn't need to wrap around the cover. This took some trial and error, mostly error, but I finally nailed it. Next time it should be a lot easier. So how do you go about getting your ISBN numbers? I obtained an ISBN 13 number from Boker Identifier Services. This is the US supplier of ISBN numbers. Amazon also provides ISBN numbers for free, but there's a catch. You are restricted in only publishing with them. At this point, when I was writing the book, I wanted to have my options open. Boker can be found at myidentifiers.com. I will leave a link below. You need one ISBN number for each type of book you release. Therefore, I needed 3. I needed a Kindle, a paperback, and a hardcover. This used up 3 out of the 10 I purchased. I ended up buying a 10-pack to save some money. Looks like I'll be needing them. More on this later. The barcodes you can generate via many free online services. You don't need to pay for them. But if you're unsure on how to do that, there are paid services which are not too expensive, including the one on the Boker's website. Since I initially published it, I have updated my barcode, specifically the price portion, due to printing prices going up. If you ever wondered about ISBN numbers, wonder no more. The left portion is the actual number assigned to the book by version, meaning it will be different for that paperback and hardcover as I had mentioned it. In this example, the 51999 refers to cost and the currency type. The first digit 5 means it's in US dollars. If it was a 6, this is to be used in Canada for Canadian dollars. 0 is to be used in the UK, and so on. The 199 means it's 1999. If you see a 90000 or 90,000, this means that there's no price specified, and you will probably see that more than anything else. This is what I use now, and if I ever needed to adjust the price, I can do so on the fly now without having to redo the back cover. You can also skip the whole pricing portion, it's completely optional. My ISBN assignment page looks like this. The process is actually very fast, as are the changes. Once all settled, all turns green, such as what's seen here. Very minor edits are allowed, but the key items cannot be changed once published. This of course makes sense. ISBN numbers cannot be reassigned once used. Once you assign it to a book, that's it. It's used up, gone. The publishing company also needs to be added when assigned. The name has to match exactly, so there is no problems when ordering printed copies or publishing via Amazon. If you're going directly through Amazon, this is easy. They have instructions, but more on this later. Let's talk about how I went about doing the copyright. The process is completely online. Please see copyright.gov for more details. They have very good instructions. To file, eservice.eco.loc.gov, and the process, to forewarn you, is very slow. It is government after all. I am going to leave links for these below. You upload your manuscript to this website, and it's all electronic. The cost is under $100, and in many places it is tax-deductible ones. During the process, it did require clarifications and a half a dozen emails to clarify some content ownership. I do have a few third-party photos and a small section, a few paragraphs really, written by another author. I had to make sure I do not claim them and had their locations and descriptions clearly stated. This was literally down to the page number level and the location on the page. Be sure to include your copyright text at the start of the book. And here is my actual certificate of registration, as you can see here. It is slightly censored, as any good government document should be. And if you're wondering, I did that for privacy. Until you have this in your hands, it is not technically official. Here's how I went about getting the Library of Congress number, also known as the LCCN. Please see loc.gov, and yes, yet another government site. To log in, go to locexternal.servicenowservices.com, and that's quite a mouthful, so I will include these links below as I always do. To obtain one is free, and it was actually fairly quick as well, to my surprise. They want you to send a copy to Washington, D.C. once it's published. I did that and hopefully made it to the shelves of the Library of Congress. One of my bucket list items is to go to the Library of Congress, so I may just check that out. Here's how I went about the cataloging in publication. You may know it as CIP, or you may even wonder what the heck it is. This is used by libraries, among others, to know where to file your book. And this is what mine looks like for this book. You can easily write your own with some research, but there are also folks who do this for a living and can do it for a few dollars. You do need to do this if you want to go all out and do the LCCN as well. Here, YouTube is your friend, so look around. You can likely figure out how to do this by yourself by looking at a few YouTube videos. Now, are you wondering why one would want to do self-publishing? Frankly, it comes down to flexibility and freedom. That's what it was for me. It gives me the ability to use different printers such as Ingram Spark or even ARL or CQ if I ever decide to go that route. I use Amazon currently. It enables me to move product around as I want to. Legal paperwork to establish a publishing company is around $200. I went through LegalZoom personally, and I paid an additional $30 for notary fees associated with the above, plus local business license and home occupation permit costs. It's really not that bad. Bottom line is, I started a publishing company, at least on paper, for under $300 and about an hour of work. It's not bad. Now here's a real funny story. The name came to me while multitasking. I was looking at vitamin supplements on Amazon and listening to the W6TI repeater. This is the repeater for the Northern California DX Club, and it has many DX spots. I think you see where I'm going with this. I put the two together, and there it was. Not a joke. Vitamin DX Publishing. The publishing company logo was designed using Canva and Photoshop. I stick to what I know. This is version 3, and this is very different from the previous two versions. Getting a copy on Kindle was an interesting process, and this is the first time I've done it. KDP, as it's known, in my opinion, punishes authors for large file sizes. They want tight, compact books. Mine is neither. Lots of pages, many photos and illustrations, not to mention a ton of pages. If the size is large and there are many photos, they charge a fee per megabyte, which cuts into author profits. I had to re-optimize all images several times to lower quality, and much lower quality in fact than I wanted to. They were still over the limit. To be completely honest, the Kindle software also has some issues. Aftermarket software is better, but bad for books with photos and tables. At least the ones I have tried failed miserably. I've even tried a paid version of one and didn't have much better luck. Using the Amazon software took massive amounts of time to reformat. So it looks okay and tidy, but it was quite an effort. File size using the KDP software from Amazon is much larger though than the aftermarket ones. So I had to compromise. Additionally, Amazon charges for large files being transferred to Kindle devices as well. Again, the publisher/author pays, and that would be me. Amazon forces you into the $9.99 price. Well, not really forces you, but it makes it pretty clear that's where they want you to be. This gives me a 70% royalty, or around $6 per sale. So if you ever wonder why so many books on Amazon are that price, that's why. At least this is the case as I'm shooting this video. This might change in the future due to inflation and other factors. If I price the book at $10 or above, they use a different formula, and this would be at 30%, and it works against you when it comes down to royalties. Price would need to be 2.5 times as high for the same royalties in this case. This was clearly not an option for me, as there is no reason to charge $25 for a Kindle book on ham radio. Basically, I ended up with $9.99 for the Kindle version, $24.99 for the paperback, though initially it was $19.99, and $34.99 for the hardcover. I had to raise the price on the paperback due to increased printing costs from Amazon. Kindle is Amazon only, needless to say. Kindle Unlimited, which pays per page read, but it doesn't pay too well per page read. In fact, I only get about 1/3 of what I would if I actually sold a Kindle copy. For those not familiar with it, Kindle Unlimited is a monthly subscription service which allows one to read certain books for free. Well, not really free because you're paying for the service, but these have to be enrolled in the Kindle Unlimited service. I ended up doing this. The only catch is you can only have digital distribution for your book via Amazon. Paperback is the most popular. Hardcover was actually an afterthought, but sold many copies. More expensive to print, takes longer to get, but it does feel very nice in the hand and higher quality than the paperback. I have to say it actually looks surprisingly good. Doing the pricing match for the print version was an adventure as well. The first 100 pages are the same printing cost. After that, there is a cost per page. While it's only pennies, it adds up pretty quickly. I had nearly 600 pages in the original format. The selling price would have been way too high. The book dimensions, interestingly enough, do not alter the cost of the printing. Only the number of pages does. Hence, I moved from my initial 6 by 8 inch, very portable format to an 8 by 10 inch for the paperback and an 8.5 by 11 inch for the hardcover. At the same time, I also reduced the image dimensions. Doing all this, I got it down to about 300 pages, or 290 to be exact, in the paperback, slightly less in the hardcover. Amazon also takes a cut for the distribution and marketing, but that's only fair. Profits are about 1/3 of the listed price for paperback. KENP, which is basically Kindle Unlimited, comes out to about 1 cent per 3 pages read. Might not be worth it for many authors, however, may reach an audience who may not have purchased the book otherwise. Numbers are very inconsistent. Bottom line, if you want to get rich by writing, you're in the wrong business. Do it for the love of it, and in my case also to contribute to the hobby you enjoy. This is how the book is seen on Amazon and can be found at this address. I will leave it below. How do you get paid, you ask? I receive a monthly direct deposit from Amazon for each marketplace, therefore several deposits of various sizes. They can take months to pay out as they have to wait for return windows to close. To my knowledge, I haven't had any returns so far. DX Engineering, which is my preferred vendor, sends POs and I ship to them directly for distribution. They stock the book in both the East Coast, Ohio, and West Coast in Nevada warehouses. They pay by check after they receive the goods. Pretty easy. You can find a copy of the book at DX Engineering at this address, and this is how that book looks in their store. I will also leave a link below, as well as the Amazon link if you want the Kindle version, in case you decide to buy it. The initial reception was great, made it to number 6 in radio communications and number 6 in radio operations. It was really nice to see this, and I wish it was always like this. The ratings update several times a day. It is extremely hard to beat out licensing books, which get to number 1, as well as the well-known dummies books. You ever wonder why reviews are important? Reviews tell Amazon how the book is perceived and helps with ranking via better sales and possible recommendations for those with similar interests. So how do I market the book? Marketing, of course, is a must if you want to have folks actually know what the book is about and perhaps even buy a copy. I use several methods in conjunction. Banner ads, which can be used on multiple platforms at once, were one method. I use the same tools to create these as the cover. Banners on QTH.com start at $100 per year and sends me weekly reports on click-throughs. All visitors to the QTH site, unless they're very lost, are hams. This makes it rather easy to send targeted ads. I also used inline ads via Facebook for a while. These are paid per display, not per click. I tried for a month. Very limited sales though. This was also targeted ironically. I feel that many just scroll through Facebook ads, kind of like what I do, or have moved on to other platforms. Trying Facebook was expensive for the return on my investment, at least for my scenario. The W6AR.com website traffic and the VitaminDX.com website traffic also provide some sales. I do recommend building a website if you know how to do this, and also if you're good with SEO. SEO is short for Search Engine Optimization, and this is rather important, meaning using good keywords and so on to drive traffic to the website via Google searches. Presentations and maybe even this YouTube video may get a few sales, though this is not the purpose of it, but I will not stop you. Instagram and Twitter got me a little traffic, nothing to write home about though. I'm at W6AR, by the way, if you're interested. My QRZ page also has links, and this has resulted in a few sales. How do I know? I use trackers on some of these links, which tells me where the traffic came from. I have also created a 3x5 promo card, and I paid around $40 for 1,000 pieces. The back of this card has the phonetic alphabet as well as Morse code cheat sheet to discourage people from tossing it. It's a good way to get people to keep them. There is a QR code on this, and again, I can track the purchases through this. That $40 investment has paid for itself already multiple times over. I also ran some video ad promotions such as this. Amazon ads have worked out very well. There are multiple campaigns running at times, including the Kindle lock screen ads. This is the suggestion that shows up when you unlock your Kindle based on your interest. These are paid per click. Other ads are keyword search based. These can vary based on what you set up. I set up some ham radio related keywords. Let's take a look at some numbers. 90% of my current readers are in the US. This is followed by the UK, Australia, Germany, Netherlands, Canada, Italy, Spain, France, Brazil, Japan, and India, in that exact order. 12% of profits are from Kindle, which is not bad. While Kindle sales are okay, not the most profitable. Some only buy Kindle if they can, like me. Therefore, in my opinion, this is a market not to be taken for granted. 66% of sales are paperback, 8% are hardcover, and the rest is Kindle. This is not to be confused with profits, but rather I'm referring to unit sales here. 35% were from initial sales. These are the people who really wanted it and got the book in the first 60 days. Still selling, but leveled out. Second spike was during IDXC, also known as the International DX Convention in Visalia, as expected. I would love to hear what's your preferred format to read, paperback, Kindle. Please leave a comment below. I'm actually very curious about the numbers and why you prefer one format over the other. Okay, bonus time. If you made it this far, thank you. And as I had promised, here's what's next. Ham Radio Satellites, a complete guide. Bird hunting for amateur radio. And this is a book coming soon. You can send me an email to be notified once available. I might even have something special planned for early requesters. For the DX book, DX Engineering is my preferred vendor. I make the same amount on both platforms, Amazon or DX Engineering. But I do want to make sure that DX Engineering is rewarded for their contributions to DX Expeditions. Please support them if you can. They're good folks. What would I love from you? Well, if you have read the book, I would love it if you left an honest review on Amazon and DX Engineering. Or at least click on the star rating. That also really helps out. Reviews help with rankings, getting you folks interested in ham radio and DX. Especially nice if they are the DX, right? Thank you for watching and check out some of the other video recommendations. As we say in ham radio world, 7-3 and good DX. Until the next video, this is Lucas, W6AR.